the laws and processes correctly is what we need. Anyway, Mark at Wilco2205. I only saw the Giants game last week, but followed the others on Twitter. It was great to get balanced views from you and listeners instead of the constant moaning and ref bashing that happens online. Keep up the good work. I would say the listeners give the balance. We're just fans who help give people's views over, so keep getting in touch with stuff like that to balance people off, guys, because that's what we like to get.
It is indeed. Dom Hodgson.
We said this.
Yes.
He listened to us when he did the Great North Run, and he said run.run is where you go to pick what he's going to wear next time, after we all picked a banana costume this time round. I think I picked something else for him, something a little bit more scantily clad.
I want to see something more risque, but I suspect that Disneyland is not the forum in which to do that.
No, which was why the North East was obviously the thing to, Anyway, Elliot Wrench said, got my new car, got Bluetooth again, SLP on the road, happy driving along to the subtle tones of Mark and Tom.
Yes, Bernard JKD, you've missed him.
Have I?
You didn't say his
What did he say?
He said, I thought we better read it, he says, back on form. Your show is better than most all-pro radio shows now, I think. Hashtag excellent.
Oh, well, thanks, Bernard.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to see it read out. Bravo. Cheers, Bernard. And Bernard actually is involved in, more broadly in radio over in Ireland in terms of presenting some rugby league stuff over there. So
his little Ireland RL segments, which I haven't... He hasn't shared any links recently, but if he does, we'll retweet them if we see them. So keep that up. But thanks for enjoying.
Thanks for the constant support.
I struggle sometimes with praise as much as I struggle with criticism.
Do you?
Yeah.
Fucking love praise.
Yeah, I know you do.
I don't mind a bit of criticism. Constructive criticism is always good, and we like that, don't we?
I prefer that to praise probably sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm a broken individual. I need therapy.
You're not fucking hell. Come back, Mamo. All's forgiven. Yeah, exactly. Jesus.
Willow's Road. Willow's Road said, normal service resumed. Kids back in school. Coffee. Listening to the Super League pod. It's good to have you back for the season running. Willow's Road. Mitchell Darts says, got some lucky guesses along the way in the trivia. 21 out of 26. I don't know how he got out of 26 when he was out of 24. So he's probably done a bit better than he thought he did. Would love to see Yorkshire-Lancashire game come back. And then Paul Michael Craig.
No, it must have been out of... I don't know. Was it not out of 34? Was it not 217s?
No, it was 2 13s, but I gave you the starting players.
All right, so it's out of
24.
Yeah.
We know in the Around the NFL podcast, which is an NFL podcast that I listen to.
Thank fuck for that, because that would confuse people.
Which I would recommend to anyone who likes.
Why is nobody listening to our gardening podcast?
Which I recommend to anyone who likes that sport. Anyway, they have a bit where they do maths slowly and badly.
Right.
Which I think we just replicated in a roundabout way there. Anyway, back onto the Lancashire-Yorkshire thing that Mitch threw up there. Paul Michael Craig said, not for me. I think it reinforces the notion that RL is just a northern game. I'd like more mid-season internationals. For example, play France against England on Bastille Day.
Yeah, I like that, but I do think there needs to be some room for a bit of tradition as well. If we start...
Shall we do Fraser and Adam, and then we'll do a bigger chat?
Yeah.
Fraser Kendall says, I always wish they'd introduce a full-strength England versus Ireland, etc. games mid-season instead of county-based rep side. Then Adam Cungy at Falcon Punch 89,
that's a great Twitter handle, said,
with UK home nations are the way to go rather than provincial games, though I wonder if an England versus the rest of GB game would fly.
That's
some interesting suggestions, but go on.
Well, no, I mean, yes, they are all interesting suggestions, but let's be perfectly honest, they're not going to come to fruition anytime soon. Maybe the England-France International has a bit more traction, but the others, whilst they're all good ideas and I like them in principle, I don't think will gain kind of the groundswell that they're needed. Now, throughout Super League Pod, I've been a big proponent of the Origin game. I like it. I think it's something that could come back and be good for the sport in terms of England prep and things like that, with a truncated schedule, which we'll talk about a bit more when we get to your blog, Mark. But I like the idea of, as much as I want to expand the game, and I do push that side of things as well, I like to see the expansion teams doing well and think that we should encourage that at grassroots. I also think there's room for some tradition within our sport, and there's some things that we do really, really well in rugby league, and part of that is traditional stuff, and we should embrace that as much as anything else, because it's part of the heritage of the sport. And the idea of a Yorkshire versus Lancashire game is part of that, as far as I'm concerned. And we saw a couple of weeks ago 5,000 odd people turning out to watch a load of ex-pros play Yorkshire versus Lancashire. Now, marketed properly and done in the right way,
with cheap tickets, like discounted tickets,
yeah, absolutely, do it a tenner.
Yeah.
But you could sell 17,000, 20,000 tickets to that and make it a spectacle and grow it again and have it be a valuable part of the rugby league calendar.
If it was going to be internationals, it can only really be England with France and Wales for me, because at this stage, because there's no growth. If anything, there's contraction in Scotland, sadly, and I don't think Ireland's producing players enough for us to be looking at that. Whereas Wales has got 2 teams within the current structure. France has obviously got 2 teams within the current English league structure, plus their own fully functioning league, and ideas to grow there. So they're the ones I'd look at internationally. I do actually like Lancashire against Yorkshire, from the idea of we're having all this expansion, like you say, and it's actually I think it might be a good thing to bring back some of the people who are a bit dickheadish about this expansion and think it's a bad thing, and for no...
I feel like you attract lapsed fans back to the
because it gives you something local, it gives you something regional, it gives you something on your doorstep, more so, because we can't be expecting away support to be what it would have been, but it's not in this country anyway, going away to unless your team's doing great like Castleford have done this year, or Hull FC over the last 2 years or so, or generally speaking Wigan and Leeds, the away supports aren't huge. 2 seasons ago, I know it might be skewed a little bit by Championship, the qualifiers games, but Huddersfield actually had a lower aggregate away crowd than Catalan Dragons did. Now, Catalan played against other Super League teams in the 8s, and Huddersfield that year were in the bottom side of that. So that might have had an effect, because they would have been at Bradford, who, actually probably get as many fans as Huddersfield. They would have been Halifax, who get a bit less. They would have been, but down the road, so you would have thought they could get there. But who was the other team?
I think we'd already been relegated by the time Huddersfield were in that election. They were.
No, you weren't. You played in that first year. You all played in that first year.
Were they not League Leaders Shield that year?
Oh yeah, was it last year then that Huddersfield were in the...
last year that they were in the bottom 8? Middle 8? Yeah, because they went from League Leaders Shield to Middle 8s. We'd already been relegated. We played Widnes.
They didn't win the League Leaders Shield in 2015, sorry. They won it in 2013.
We played Widnes, we beat Salford.
Leeds won it at Huddersfield, actually, in 15, so they weren't in the Middle 8s that year. So it must have been 2016. Well, one of the years, anyway. In recent years, Huddersfield had a lower average attendance for their away games than Catalans did. Yeah. So this away game conversation kind of has examples against it, as well as people who love going to away games and want to go to all the away games. But giving them this product gives a local focus back, as there's lots of focus being taken elsewhere as well, I think is... what I'm trying to say.
No, I agree with you. Okay, David Powell.
He says, now then, lads, excellent ep. I think we need a secret ballot approach to predictions. Give Mark a chance.
Well, there's no point having a secret ballot, Mark, Dave, because I know which way he's voting. So...
Well, it's only on one game.
It is only on one game, isn't it, really? So...
Yeah.
And I was right to go that way this week.
Exactly.
Right, see, so sometimes it's actually where I go anyway.
Couple more from Dave. He says, only my second go at the quiz. He's been listening all year.
Well, maybe he just doesn't want to test himself.
He says, not bad, but got Radders, Gilly, Gleeson and Long wrong. 3 bloody Saints players.
There you go. Oh well.
And he says, regarding J-Lo in my England team, selected due to defensive qualities as well as ball handling versus Mr. Tompkins.
Well, I don't know. I think Sam Tompkins defensively is certainly,
Well, that wasn't how he suggested it the first time round, was it? And if you look at average handling errors per game so far this season, Lomax has had more than Sam Tompkins. So, and if you look at the recent St Helens versus Wigan game, I'd say I haven't ever seen Johnny Lomax have as good a defensive performance at fullback as Sam Tompkins had that particular evening.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a bit. From me saying that, there's probably bias, and from him saying his way around.
Well, my even-handed look at it, because the last thing I would want to do is blow smoke up your eye. Being even-handed, I would prefer Tompkins than Johnny Lomax.
Johnny Lomax is a great player.
Of course he is.
And the fact that he's fitting in so many different positions and only having slight moans about it when he's talking to Sky before the games is
no, he's doing well, and he bless him. Fucking hell, he works that hard to get back from that level of injury.
I just thought it was funny.
He works that hard to get back from that level of injury, and then this time fucking Ben Barba, who, by the way, might not even have played himself into the team for next week when we get onto the Huddersfield-Wakefield game, because he's lacking in gas for me. He's Ben Barba.
Yes, he has no pace,
which was all of his game when he was on form.
Tim G.
Supplements. He needs them special Cronulla supplements.
He came after the peptides.
No, not those ones.
Oh, right. Tim G. Radio said, don't diss Matty Blythe. He's the nicest guy in rugby league.
He's a lovely chap, I've met him. But he's not going to play for England, though, is he? It wasn't like that at all. I bumped into him when I was getting all gushy over Robbie Paul. He was incidental. He was like
another one from Dave.
Roommate.
Another one from David Powell. It's the David Powell feedback section today. So he goes, now then, lads. I think our game needs to be easier to referee. He's coming up with a couple of ideas. That's cool. So there's 2 wild ideas just for discussion. 1, allow ball stripping and knock-ons. 2, abolish the play of the ball. After held, restart with a tap on the count of 3. All defenders back to 10. And a further 5 metres. Realise this is too radical a change, but we need to reduce the interpretation by refs and cheating by players. Discuss.
Well, I think your first sentence kind of is undermined by all your points. I think our game needs to be easier to referee. How on earth do you referee the certain amount of distance for some players and different distances for others, and the count of 3? And David, I get your point. I think it does need to be refine more, but I think it's in terms of the development of quality referees again and going through that process rather than any of these particularly, especially knock-ons. I wouldn't allow knock-ons.
Nigel Wood I'm just telling you to go and listen to a more superior product to
an
ours.
Alternative, less artisanal, overproduced product.
Well, if they turn Schofield's mic off, it's a very, very good show to listen to.
They leave Schofield's mic on. That's like saying, if it hadn't been for the turd on my plate, I would have thoroughly enjoyed that mixed grill.
Well, Schofield didn't talk a lot last night's show, so I'd say give it a listen anyway. But one of the things Wood talked about was about what they expect referees to do in terms of managing games, and what maybe they haven't done enough of making everyone else aware of what they want the referees to do. So that might clear up some of the stuff around why some penalties are given and some aren't. I get his point about this knock-on/penalties situation purely in the play of the ball, and we maybe could define some features within that. I think David's onto something sort of there in terms of, you could say something like maybe anytime the ball comes out on first contact with a defender, always a knock-on.
Right.
Whenever a ball comes out after first contact, before being on the ground, always a penalty. And then whenever it comes out with contact after the held call, always a knock-on. And I know you say you could get cheating and stuff like that. Yeah. That's the problem. And what we actually need is those fucking rugby league players on the pitch to have a bit more moral fibre and realise that the actual people who are damaging the game and the entertainment product is the people who are cheating or trying to cheat. Because that's what's causing the problem. Because if no one tried to cheat, no penalties would need to be given, / no controversial knock-ons at the play of the ball would be the result. If no one was trying to cheat, you'd get the odd penalty for the odd bit of lying down a bit too long where it's tiredness and fatigue and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you'll get the odd. But you won't get so many instances a game where there's someone chirping in the skybox, one of the cast, saying, that should be a penalty, that should be a penalty. Do you see what I mean?
I do, and I think it's a very strong point you make. But I think there's an element of realism that we need to add to this discussion when we say things like we need to stop the play. Look, these are professional athletes who are drilled on a day-to-day basis in the art of gaining an advantage, and they're told about this in team talks and planning that it's a game of centimetres and inches and fine margins, and if you can eke an advantage, go get it. I think actually the onus needs to go back to And it's a process for me, not something that needs to happen immediately. And this isn't to be critical of referees, but that it needs to be a process where we more functionally look at the development of referees to recognise it and then mitigate it, because the